Start by bringing our attention, our awareness into the physical body, scanning just briefly from the top of our head down all the way to the soles of the feet, becoming aware of any places where we're holding tension, settling the body into a comfortable, stable, upright position where we really think about just being able to hang the body on itself, just resting it, setting it, kind of just letting it fall into its own position, but maintaining a straight back, upright torso, hands in the lap, and then remind yourself that for this session you can just release any thoughts of the past or worries about the future, using the breath to concentrate your awareness. Anytime that your attention is grabbed, you just let it go, just release it. A distracting thought or feeling arises, and without judgment or frustration, we just don't energize what arises with our attention. Just gently shift the mind back to the breath, trying to do that as quickly as possible. And then try to establish a broad, virtuous motivation, thinking that you're going to work on your mind and develop positive qualities, to become more familiar with positive mental states, and that your motivation is not just for yourself alone, But it's reasonable to try to take responsibility for the welfare of other beings, to try to develop the attitude of becoming like a servant for all sentient beings. I think that the real purpose of today, of my life, is to be of benefit. Then, with that motivation, we'll do a meditation on taking and giving. So, we start by visualizing a version of ourselves seated in front of us. This version of ourselves is experiencing a difficulty that we are familiar with, an obstacle of body or mind, some unpleasant or unwished for state. We observe that we, in the future in front of us, are in the midst of this obstacle. We can imagine that this suffering takes on the aspect of like smoke surrounding this visualization, like a pollution. And as we observe our own suffering, the wish, the aspiration to be free of it arises without much difficulty. Try to stabilize and tap into that subjective experience, what it feels like, what phrases come to mind, how the body reacts. Try to make that a very stable experience. Then focus on the version of yourself in meditation and visualize a dark seed or small dot in the middle of your body at the level of your heart. So you have these two visualizations. And then imagine that because of the force of your compassionate wish to be free of suffering, that smoke is magnetized from the visualization in front. It begins to gather and travel faster and faster, collecting, funneling into that dark seed at your heart. And that dark seed is getting heavier and heavier. And that dark seed implodes, and it's replaced by a somewhat larger orb of golden white light. And light rays emanate outward toward that visualization in front, completely surrounding that visualization, completely eliminating any suffering and providing all temporary and ultimate happiness, safety, contentment, true peace. So focus on the visualization transforming like that. And then bring to mind the image of a person that you've seen recently but don't know, and allow that visualization in front to dissolve and replace it with the image of this person seated in front of you. And recognize that they're much more like you than not like you, and so they almost certainly struggle in very, very similar ways. Same physical and mental sufferings. So imagine that this person is experiencing something quite like what you imagined for yourself, and that you're observing them in the midst of that obstacle. And try to notice if the mind just as spontaneously or easily begins to develop a concern, a compassionate intention. And if we need to go back and remember what that was like for ourselves, just try to use a remembering consciousness and try to reestablish and make solid that compassionate intention, that subjective state. Again, visualizing that that obstacle is in the nature of smoke, pollution surrounding their body. And again, visualizing that dark seed at your own heart. And as your intention becomes firm, your ability to turn toward suffering is strong. Then that smoke begins to be lifted from them and channeled faster and faster, absorbing into that dark seed, which gets heavier and heavier. Just notice if there's any resistance in the mind, and intentionally shift your focus to that subjective state of compassion whenever resistance arises. Just energize that subjective state And naturally, the resistance will be deprived of your energy, your attention. And visualize that that dark seed implodes and is again replaced by that orb of golden white light. And light rays extend out, surrounding that visualization in front, completely eliminating all difficulties and obstacles and providing all temporary and ultimate sources of happiness, true peace, perfect well being, and contentment. And focus on that, how that visualization transforms. Allow that visualization in front to dissolve and replace it with the image of a person you know and someone that you have just some minor conflict with, someone you just find maybe just a little irritating. And imagine that they are experiencing a similar obstacle and recognize that just like myself and just like people I don't know, this person is just as deserving to be free of this obstacle, wants that for themselves just as much. There's no valid reason that I shouldn't also wish for that. So now that you're familiar with the steps, go through all of the steps of the visualizations just silently on your own. When you're ready, we'll come back together. And then we'll dedicate. Due to the merits of the 3 times collected by me, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and all other sentient beings, may any sentient being who hears me, touches me, remembers me, thinks about me, whether praising or criticizing, abuses me, treats me badly, or makes any connection with me, simply by having made that connection, may they never ever be reborn in the lower realms. May those sentient beings immediately be liberated from all disease, spirit harms, negative karma, and defilements, develop faith in refuge and karma, and quickly achieve enlightenment by actualizing the whole path, especially bodhicitta. By my hearing that someone is sick, may it immediately cause that person to completely recover and have the most meaningful life by practicing the Mahayana path. By my hearing that someone has died, may it cause that person to immediately be reborn in a pure land where they can get enlightened. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends.
Thank you.